comes to applying for Australian partner visa, there's a mountain of paperwork to complete, which includes police checks and making sure that you pass the character test. In this week's blog, I'm breaking down everything you need to know about the character requirements when it comes to applying for a partner visa. This includes what the character test is, who needs to apply for a police check, and other common pitfalls. So who is required to apply for a police check? When it comes to the partner visa application process, both the visa applicant and the sponsoring partner will need to provide police checks from each country that they have lived for a total period of 12 months or more in the last 10 years. This period is calculated cumulatively, not consecutively, which is one of the reasons that the application form asks for details of your address history and your travel history, and it's important that you are as accurate as possible with this information. Police checks are generally valid for 12 months from the date of issue, so you need to plan ahead when it comes to ensuring you apply for your police check at an appropriate time and making sure that you don't require repeat requests for new police checks during the processing of an application. If you've already gone through an immigration process that required police checks, you might already have a police check from another country from a previous application. In certain limited circumstances, these expired police checks may be able to be extended, but don't forget this extension is at the discretion of the case officer. One of the most common mistakes we see when it comes to the partner visa police check process is people not applying for the correct type of police check or not responding to a request for further information within the required time frame. Sometimes this is due to circumstances outside of your control and unavoidable delays with the processing of the police checks caused by third parties. Regardless of the reasons for the delay, it's important that you respond to any request from the Department of Immigration. Failure to do so can lead to a refusal of the application, and it could be avoidable. There are different types of police checks for a variety of purposes, including employment, working with children, and background checks. It's important to know that not all police clearance certificates are accepted for immigration purposes, and this is a really common pitfall. For example, did you know if you Google Australian police check, the top 4 Google hits are not the required request for immigration. They're actually third-party verification checks, and we often see people spending unnecessary money on checks that will not meet the criteria. Depending on your location, your residency status, there may also be different requirements for different jurisdictions. For example, some people might be required to provide a state police check where they are in country and have spent a certain period of time in that particular state. In other cases, depending on what your residency status is, for example, are you a citizen, on a work visa, or simply holidaying in a country where the total time spent is 12 months or more, will change the application process. It's important that you understand what it is that the department is actually looking for when it comes to this document. This is known as the character test. The character test is purposefully broad and subjective to ensure the safety of the Australian community and regulation of the entry and stay in Australia for people that may be a character concern. The character test provides the framework for when a visa should be considered for cancellation or refusal on character grounds. It includes circumstances such as where a person has what is considered to be a substantial criminal record. Some elements of the character test are purposefully broad and subjective to allow discretion in terms of refusal or cancellation. Other parts are well defined. A substantial criminal record is defined as a conviction for an offence where you are either sentenced to death, life in prison, or a sentence of imprisonment of 12 months or more. This can include concurrent sentences, consecutive sentences, and suspended sentences. The full period of any sentence imposed will apply regardless of if you serve the entire sentence. For example, if you're eligible for early parole or release before the full sentence is finished, this can still be counted towards the 12-month requirement. Just because you don't have a substantial criminal record doesn't mean you shouldn't be concerned about the character requirements. People that have any type of criminal history or detailed information that is included on a police check will be subject to additional scrutiny when it comes to their visa application process. You'll be expected to provide additional statements, potentially character references, and this could significantly delay the processing time of your application. Another common pitfall we see is when it comes to spent convictions and the non-disclosure of criminal history, where the visa applicant believes that this no longer forms part of their criminal history because there's a step-down model or significant time has passed since the charge occurred. Regardless of how long it has been since the offending behaviour, if you have ever been charged with an offence, it's important that this information is declared to the Department of Immigration as part of your application process. Failure to do so can have significant consequences. Although Australian citizens are not subject to the same character test as a visa applicant, you will need to provide a police check as part of the sponsorship requirements. The character test or sponsorship regulations do have a different level of character imposed, but it's important that you understand this process regardless. Sponsors are also required to consent to the disclosure of this information as part of the visa application process. Failure to consent to this information being disclosed will lead to refusal of your application. There are different requirements for both visa applicants and sponsors when it comes to the partner visa process, and some elements of these character tests are mandatory and others are discretionary when it comes to deciding to refuse or cancel a visa or approve or refuse a sponsorship. If you or your partner are worried about how your criminal history or past conduct may impact the success of a partner visa application, we highly recommend seeking professional advice from a registered migration agent so you know exactly where you stand. I look forward to meeting with you soon.